Hello, Utah Dota Group.
Oh, hi, Utah Dota.
Dota.
Yeah, I'm here with your friend Kevin. I wish you guys were all here.
Hello.
What's up, Demon here?
Hi, Utah.
Hello, Utah Dota.
Yes.
I don't even know where Utah is.
Hey guys, how's it going? This is Zero2Infinity from Crowd Control.
And this is Happy, also from Crowd Control.
And today we're going to be doing an MMR3 replay analysis on a play that was submitted by one of our players, Zanaso, who is going to be playing the Storm Spirit in this game. And today's replay analysis is going to be focusing on each team's strengths, skill builds, and also how to take objectives. And we're going to have a nice little special at the end of going over item choices using Dotabuff Plus so that we can actually see the timing on each item as well.
Alright, so like I said, Zero2Infinity said, let's focus on game-winning factors, big decisions that helped the winning team win, and potentially how the losing team could have turned it around. So let's get into it.
So we're going to actually start this game on 2x speed, so that way we're not having to really watch as much of the lane phase and really getting down to the bread and butter of every single fight, different movements, so that we can really focus on things that could be done maybe a little bit better, or maybe other options that we could have taken as well. So right at the beginning of the game right here, we're actually seeing a Storm popping a lot of static remnants, which actually isn't a bad choice considering that he's contesting the rune. It's going to force the other team to actually take a lot of damage to go through and actually try to fight for the rune itself.
Alright, so looking at the lane shape, this Enigma does go for an early deny, spawning 3 Eidolons from a range creep. This helps Storm's mid lane immensely because it takes one creep experience away from the Templar Assassin, and it helps make sure that it pushes towards him so he stays safe.
And actually looking through the laning phase so far, as you guys can actually tell, the creep score is actually going pretty well on Radiant's side. They have a fairly strong laning phase, just maintaining a lot of control as they're going through the game. Let's zoom in a little bit here, and let's go over what the Storm's doing that's so effective against Zona's TA out right now.
Alright, so I think the Storm goes for an early stat build, whereas the TA doesn't. You see, the TA goes for a bottle rush, taking 2 tangos, a clarity, which leaves her lower on health, but the Storm going for a null talisman on the other hand, and 2 tangos gives him the health and the mana to spam out a couple remnants, make sure that he's on the offensive, and you can see him put a lot of pressure early on into the TA.
One thing that's really nice that I'm noticing here too is that the Storm's really controlling the creep momentum and keeping it as close to his tower as possible. It's making it very easy for him to farm. So that's something that's that we mentioned in our previous video about how to really control the mid lane, so that way you can actually keep the creeps as close to your edge as possible just to make sure that you can last it safely.
Exactly. And the Storm here, after seeing that first arrow, does now need to keep in mind of how he needs to play this mid lane, because there's always the threat of getting an arrow landed on you and this TA coming in and going for the kill.
So we're taking a look at his bottom lane here. We're going to just check out to see how the Animage is actually currently farming. I mean, based on this build right here, he's going for a 2-1 build. Can you kind of talk about that, Happy?
So this is a pretty decent decision considering both his opponents on lane are melee. So he can get in those easy right clicks to go for, as we see a TA come in for a gank here. Great Shallow Grave.
That was actually a nice blink out too. He barely survived.
Right, the mana break against 2 melee heroes makes it so he can go for really great harass, burn their mana, make sure he doesn't, the Omni Knight doesn't always have purification up, and the Titanhunter doesn't spam out those anchor smashes. Now, one thing that I do want to mention is each team's strengths. What is, right now, looking at the team comps, the winning factor for each side? What do you think it is for the Dire side, Zero2Infinity?
So, watching this, let's slow down the game a little bit. From the Dire side, we've got the Mirana, Tidehunter ults, which are big. Mirana's able to use her ult to actually go through and roam around the map, basically help her team escape to get into a nasty fight, or actually even roam out to get a gank. And from that as well, one thing that we could see as a really great combo is maybe doing a Mirana ult invis and then having a Tidehunter jump in with a great Ravage, and at that point the Omni Knight could just pop a Guardian Angel with the Tusk rolling in and just pretty much snowballing everybody and knocking them out. I think at that point it's just allowing the TA coming in to basically do cleanup crew. For the Radiant side, we got a huge teamfight potential as well coming out from the Enigma. I mean, if an Enigma gets a nice black hole in there, it allows the Storm to basically pop in and just focus the target down, Plus, we have the Wind Ranger, who's a great hero killer, especially if she's able to get a nice shackle, as we're seeing here against the trees, and she could pretty much just use her ultimate to kill a hero as quickly as possible. And then you got the nice Dazzle weave that can actually be ulted on top of the Enigma Black Hole as well. So it really feels like from here, it looks like there's a huge team fight coming from Radiant's side. And one thing that you mentioned earlier, Happy, was the fact that Anti-Mage is a ticking time bomb.
Exactly, and that's one thing that you will always have to watch out for. You want to play to your team strength. When you're playing pubs, you know, it's really hard to coordinate a draft. Who's going to play what? Who's going to do, you know, whatever role they plan on doing from the get-go. And so, looking at your team strength, we see a team fight on both sides coming out from the Black Hole on Radiant and Ravage on the Dire side. So, a way to play to your team strength is knowing your team has these huge team fight potentials is play to how they want to play it. They picked Enigma to land these huge black holes. So if the Enigma goes for a blink, that's something that you want to look out for and say like, all right, Enigma has blink, that's our go. Or Dazzle gets his mech, that's our go. Or Enigma gets his mech, that's our go. On the Dire side, you want to look at Tidehunter's blink timing. You want to look at Tuskar's blink timing. Or maybe if Tuskar goes damage sometimes, that could also be a timing. Or TA's Desolator timing. These are all things that you want to notice. Click around on the map. Notice what your team's gold values are, how they're playing it. This is something that if you can know your own team strength, that's how you can help your team win.
And one thing you already mentioned is how beast of a jungler Enigma can be, and we can already see Enigma leading the creep score with 48 creeps killed already. I mean, that's a huge, huge lead. Really, Radiant's just doing a great job in this laning phase right now. They're having a huge advantage in terms of just making sure that they're getting as much gold secured as possible.
And so, yeah, like you said, Enigma is a really fast jungler. Enigma is actually, I think, the fastest jungler in the game right now. And so that's something that you do really want to look out for when you have an Enigma, is make sure that he gets his farm in the jungle. Here you see the Storm doing a correct thing, coming out from mid off a rune to gank. However, Omni Knight is always hard to gank with that purification, and that's something that Storm's doing a correct decision here to try to get his Anti-Mage, take pressure off his Anti-Mage so Anti-Mage can get some farm. This gank ends up working out for Storm getting farm, however Anti-Mage dies. But, you know, in the end, the trade-off is good. It's a 2-for-1. Anti-Mage always catches up with the Battle Fury. That's such a fast accelerator for him. And that's something that, you know, ticking time bomb. That's something you want to think when you have Anti-Mage. Anti-Mage hits a Battle Fury, you're going to get going in the next 10 minutes.
So based on the Storm playing mid, when do you think is usually a good time for a Storm to start roaming and ganking? I mean, that's something that comes up in pubs a lot.
Well, I think Storm has a great potential. He hits his 6, makes it so initiation's really easy, or hitting a really key rune. And that's where rune checking becomes very important. You want to hit haste runes, invis runes, you know, come in with overload slows, static remnant damage, you're just pure right clicks coming in, and that's something that playing a Storm, you want to recognize opportunity to gank. Hitting 6 is a very good opportunity. Another opportunity is leveling Electric Vortex to level 2 or 3 to pull them into your remnant for damage, or hitting a good rune. And that's something that, as a Storm player, I think Zanaso is doing a great job recognizing, hey, I got pretty decent CS on lane, I should probably start ganking, take some pressure off from this Anti-Mage, and
Looks like we got some actually moving down from bottom. Looks like TA is actually was trying to secure the 10-minute rune, but she got caught off guard, and we got a team fight going down right now. Enigma is actually just sitting out on top. Does Enigma have his black hole yet?
Enigma, it looks like he has his black hole, not enough mana. Tidehunter makes the mistake here. He is level 6, but just is holding on to that point because of the action and not leveling Ravage. There, if you press Control R, you can actually level skills by pressing Control R, and you can level up your Ravage. That may have been a kill, or more kills, in addition to the Storm that could have happened.
Let's rewind that real fast and see what happened to Storm, because I noticed he was the only one that actually died in that fight.
So it looks like here, he just got minus armor stacked. You have the TA sitting here in Meld Strike. You have the Tidehunter who gushes him, reduces his armor, -8. He's going to have too much, and then a Purification comes out with huge nuke damage, pure damage actually, that takes out all his health.
So in that situation, what do you think the Storm could have done in terms of positioning-wise to really make that play a little bit better?
I think in terms of positioning, Storm definitely could have been able... you know, the idea is, I know where TA is, I'm dropping remnants on her, come do something, but you have to recognize, playing Storm, you want to be playing safe, right? This is something that, it's a mistake that could happen. It's not very punishing, you know, it's an early game death. It's not like it delayed a huge key item. It's not like it made his team lose a 5-man fight. I don't think this one is as punishing to die from. It's a small positioning error, can happen, it's just a mistake. But here, the actual really important thing is to not get on tilt, you know. Dazzle didn't shallow grave me. Don't start flaming him. That's something that you don't want to be doing, and it creates a negative team environment, and all of a sudden you're going to start having problems with team communication that can contribute to a loss.
So one of the things you guys may notice that we're doing is we're zooming out on a lot of the game series just to give us a wider perspective so we can actually see the movements of the individual players. So right now we're actually seeing a Storm pop in from a TP, and he actually goes in after a Tidehunter, and we see a great Ravage coming out from the Tide, and the Storm's going to try to actually focus him out, but we see the Omniite popping a Guardian Angel, and the Storm's actually going to have to get out of there as soon as possible. I don't think at that point, maybe, what do you think about the static remnant? What do you think it would have been better just to zip out?
I think he's still trying to go for maximum damage here, because, you know, if he lands like another static remnant onto that Tidehunter here, you know, that's a bunch of damage, and that's the opportunity he was trying to look for. However, again, Omni Knight has the heal, and I think here the play is to, before you TP in, click on Tidehunter. Know that he's level 6. I haven't heard Ravage in the last minute. He probably has it up. Same thing with Omni Knight. You see that they had a pretty decent initiation. It's just Omni Knight's Guardian Angel and Tidehunter's Ravage changed the fight entirely.
Makes a lot of sense. So let's speed up the fights a little bit here and see if we can get to our next point when next big fight might be coming out.
Exactly. And so now you want to take a look at, you know, another good time to take inventory of your team. Ooh, nice arrow. Is look at Enigma. What has he got? Alright, he's picked up his Blink Dagger. This is the point where communication becomes very handy. Tell him to go back to base, get mana, use the Blink Dagger, and we are going to go for a team fight win. Let's start swinging the game in our favor. Use what our heroes are good at in order to win. We know that Tide has Ravage, but, you know, I don't see a Blink Dagger on Tide yet.
So let's take a look and see what's happening here. Let's slow down the fight just a little bit. And we're actually going, it looks like there was actually a fight that broke out earlier after Mirana, and it looks like she used the ult to escape. Looked like it was a bad initiation, maybe?
Oh, Storm may be caught out, but here, safety zip out. TA has her blink, but you see the snowball running in. Oh, but the Dazzle walks into an arrow. That's something that, you know, that was coming out of Fog of War. That's something that's a little unavoidable. These are kills that will happen. The main thing is you don't want to get on tilt, but play to your team's strength. See, there, if they had the Enigma, go back for mana, or use the Blink Black Hole, you know, you can create space for the Anti-Mage. So right now, you should reassess, alright? Well, we're slightly behind. It looks like they have the offensive advantage. Our Anti-Mage still needs to pick up some farm. He had a rough laning stage. What we need to do as a Radiant team, our winning factor is to group together, win on black holes.
Let's take a look at the Storm here. Looks like he was actually trying to go in for the TA, and she was actually able to blink out. And instead of Mirana with a nice counter arrow, but Storm was able to actually successfully get out of it. And we see a big black hole coming out actually from the TA right now. I'm sorry, from the Enigma against the TA. I mean, we know the TA's there, and we got a nice power shot from the Wind Ranger to actually finish that kill. But the Storm's a little bit low on mana.
And it looks like here the fight is lost. It should be back slightly before this, you know. But you trade 1 for 2. It's not the best. But the consolation prize you have to realize out of this is you're getting your Anti-Mage free farm. This is a part where you want to encourage your Anti-Mage. Use this to get farm. Like, he should be up here hitting creeps. I guess he's hitting neutrals, but lane creeps are worth slightly more gold than the small camp creeps, and you know they're trying to play to their team's strengths. This is a decent move by the Radiant team because they use the black hole. They try to, even though it was whiffed, they're playing with the right mindset.
So let's zoom in real fast on the Mirana and see her movement right now. Can we zoom in? So it looks like she's actually trying to set up for a gank. She's got an invisibility rune. I think she's trying to set up a nice arrow so that her team can actually go through and initiate from there, but they don't have much vision. And she's going to get out. You know, I think one of the things here that I'm noticing is Dire's side, they're not really utilizing their movement really well. I mean, they're roaming back and forth so much.
See Anti-Mage is a problem. This is the point where you look at him and you're like, we haven't seen him for the last like 5 minutes. He probably is halfway through his Battle Fury. And this is really good map awareness from the Anti-Mage to blink over to a safe spot and find a TP to TP out.
Alright, so taking a look at here, I mean, I feel like, I mean, Mirana's scouting right now, but do you feel like they're not really utilizing their movement effectively? I mean, they're losing I want to say they're losing a lot of potential farming that they could be out going. I mean, they're not getting any successful ganks off at the current moment. And Tidehunter doesn't have his Ravage up, so they're not even ready for a team fight, so it doesn't make sense for them to roam as much.
So here's something that I've noticed so far throughout the game. This is obviously a fight that they counter-initiate, they win, just because of that Guardian Angel factor. That Guardian Angel stopped all aggression instantly from the double shackle. Even though it was a great shackle, the Guardian Angel stopped it. What's really holding the Dire team back from winning out is I mean, here you just see like consolation kills at the end of it. But look at the last hits. The last hits, the Anti-Mage and the Enigma. This is why Enigma is actually so strong. It's not in the huge Blink Black Hole plays. It's his ability to get farmed as a 3 position or a 4 position and be insanely farmed. Have that Blink Black Hole, get a fast mech, get Guardian Greaves. That's something that you want to pay attention for the Enigma. That's playing to your team's strengths. You know, playing Dota, you're going to have kills. You're going to have some team fights. You're going to lose some, you're going to win some. But playing to the overall strengths here, I think Radiant team is playing fine. They are playing towards the Anti-Mage farming. They're trying to get him to his Battle Fury. Here, you wait for the Enigma Black Hole. They're pushing in. You just want to spam out the waves.
And we see a nice shackle from the Wind Ranger, but Ravage is going to counter. And I mean, this team
Great
fight,
Black Hole.
That was an awesome Black Hole. And a nice power shot actually was able to hit, looks like there was a 3 or 4 arrows. I think it might hit the Mirana, but...
no. Anti-Mage didn't get his ult off. I think after some people use their big ults, like the Ravage used from Tidehunter, it's pretty safe to always just go for a Mana Void to go for it. Like, that was a great Black Hole, but you see that not too much damage besides one power shot that was done from it. I think, right now, the Anti-Mage should have actually been bot, pressuring this bot tower. This is something that when the other team looks at their minimap, has a moment of panic and wants to TP out, but they're forced to take a fight mid, and they're split between decisions. That's how you want to play the Rat Dota.
Okay. So let's take a look here. I'm kind of curious. Can we do let's do a player's perspective on the Storm and check out how his movements are going. And you smooth drag so that way it's not as jittery.
I don't quite again on.
Where's the party?
Is not quite looking for opportunity to farm. You know, right now you see him getting a little bit confused on his movement. He's clicking around, but Storm is an amazing farmer. You know, Overload and Static Remnant makes it so he can farm really fast. And so to get to the big items right now, I think his biggest advantage he could do right now is farm the big camp, farm the small camp. Like, here, walking to the bottom lane, I don't think he's going to find as much of a kill, but if here, there you go. That's what you want to be doing. You want to be taking this, looking at the timing, seeing like, hey, it's 52 seconds. I want to get a stack off. But looking here, you know, you're playing pick-off Storm. You don't want to fight into Guardian Angel and Ravage. It's been like 3 times already this game where Guardian Angel and Ravage has stopped all aggression from your initiations. Initiating onto a Mirana ult without Dust is also somewhat of an issue, but you see here, you're going in, you're doing all right, but
that could have been really bad for the Storm actually. So let's actually pause this real fast. We're gonna replay that fight again, and we're gonna actually do it from a free camera so we can actually zoom out and really see the movements of all the different heroes here. So you guys may have noticed our sound might have cut off just a second there, and I apologize if we accidentally muted it. But we're actually we're doing a player perspective from the Storm's end to kind of see what his movement decisions are. So we're seeing a team fight actually come out right now. A nice Guardian Angel coming out to protect him from the physical damage. And yeah, it looks like I mean, based on what we're seeing here, it looks like the Dire is doing fairly well in their team fights. I mean, they're not really losing team fights that bad.
It's because you just can't fight into Guardian Angel. You know, you're going to get an initial kill. You can't fight into Ravage. Look at this. Like, you're trying so hard to take fights to a team fighting team. You didn't have your big Enigma with you. You should just mostly be creating small skirmishes to get that Anti-Mage farm.
You know, I think the big part here that they didn't capitalize on was that they just barely did a team wipe, and now everybody's moving away from bot lane when they had a huge creep wave push through, and I think they could have actually taken a tier 2 right
So this is something that, you're right, the Dire is not taking advantage of a fight they just won. Right now you see them heavily in favor of the game. They have all the kills, they're playing correctly, they're blowing their big ults at the right time, but looking at that point, they could have pushed in through bottom. They had 5 alive, the other team had 5 dead. That's something that, taking this, takes away a TP point for Roshan, it takes away vision, it takes away safety of the Radiant jungle. That's something that, you know, the Dire hasn't quite capitalized on. They're capitalizing on their team fight fine. They're doing great Guardian Angels, they're doing very good Ravages, it's just they're not taking an objective after the fight, and that's something that, you know, if you don't go for the win, you don't take objectives, no matter how well you outplay or fight, you're not going to be able to win it.
So we actually see the Enigma being caught out from the Great Mirana arrow right there. So one thing that you were mentioning earlier about the Animage farming was that we noticed that Animage was actually farming the jungle a lot, and AUI 2000 actually has a great video on farming paths, and it's that making sure that you're rotating between both creep waves and also making sure you're going through between jungles as well. That way you're getting your maximum farm efficiency. We're seeing a big team fight actually coming out here. Nice mana void from the Animage. We see them take down a Tusk here, and then we see another great Shackle shot from the Wind Ranger, but there's going to be a Mirana ult being popped, and she does have Meld on a TA. She's going to get away.
So one thing that helped them win their fight there, ooh, nice juke. One of the major factors there is no Guardian Angel, no Ravage.
And that was a great response by Storm, though. I mean, they had the vision from the Observer Ward on that high ground right there that we noticed, and it allowed them to see that the TA was actually trying to TP out, and the Storm immediately responded by jumping in and getting a static link on her.
Yeah.
Not static link, sorry.
Right.
Electric Vortex.
Right. Great set of fight taken by the Dire. This is something that I don't think they recorded timings, but you know, in big professional matches, you know, when you hear the Ravage goes off, just alt-click the timer. Get the timing on the Ravage. Know when Ravage is up. No Ravage, no Guardian Angel was so crucial to winning that fight. You see that Omni Knight was alive for the whole thing. He just had 18 seconds on his Guardian Angel. There was something that, if you don't have the big ults that you want up, so right now you see that the Ravage and the Guardian Angel are coming off cooldown. They're pushing in. You know, if Radiant tries to counterfight this here, you're going to lose heroes, right? Look at this right here. That's one off from the Dazzle. This Storms, he's trying to zip away. He's got his mana. I wonder if they're going to get that click in. But it looks like there's a Blink Dagger in from the Omni Knight. He's going to go in. Nice arrow.
Mirana arrow almost hit the Storm as well. We still see a gush from Tyner, and he was able to bring him down.
Blink Gush, you know, these are long chases. This you'll find very familiar, something you'll see in almost every Dota match you play. It's just, there was an overextension. They didn't play Ravage and Guardian Angel last fight, well, they're going to have it this fight. And so the way you take the fight has to be extremely smart. You know, you want to spread very thin. You want Guardian Angel, you want to kite it out, time it out. You want to take Ravage only on 1 or 2 people. They only took Ravage on 2, but the Storm has spent all his mana going in. And so coming out, he has to Soul Ring to come out, which leaves him at low health. With 2 Blink Daggers, they can easily chase him down.
So looking at this part right here, I mean, this is another reason. We got the Storm and the Windrunner down, and they have 4 people actually going down mid lane. I think they could have done a lot more damage.
I mean, they're going for it. You see, they're going for it. Mirana needs to right-click the tower. She bought Diffusal Blade. You have plus 20 damage. Use the tower. Here, there was very little. Here, this is something I do want to mention. Look at this.
Let's zoom in on this fight real fast.
Not this fight, but okay. 10 seconds, like 20 seconds ago. I'm going to jump back 20 seconds to this set of kills. They just, this was like 40 seconds. You jump back, you see all these set of kills right here, all right? Here's where you're going to have like a 5-second downtime, but once these creeps come in, you want to right-click the tower. Look, 89 plus 13, 88 damage, 83 plus 46, 88 damage. This is collectively about 300 right-click damage that none of it is hitting the tower right here, right now. They still have 2 people down. It's a 4v3. You know, you still have Guardian Angel up. Look at this. There hasn't been a single right-click on the tower. And this is like what you're talking about. They're all there, but the presence of them is not doing damage to the towers. And here's where people have revived. This is when you should back, but you got no right-click damage off.
It looked like the Mirana's trying really hard to actually set up an arrow. I mean, she does use her ult right there to actually get out as soon as possible, but we got Dust coming out, Big Black Hole coming out as well, bringing down the Tusk. We already have the Omni Knight going down. And that was actually a big part of this replay that you mentioned, Happy, was that a lot of the team fights that are helping them out getting won is the fact that the Mirana has the Invisible Ult, the Tidehunter has our Ravage, and the Guardian Angel. And the Guardian Angel is really the big thing that's keeping them alive because the Radiant team has such heavy right-click damage that's why the Omni Knight needs to stay alive during those fights. And when he's being focused on that quickly, it takes their team fight out significantly.
Exactly. And so here, it's always good from a 2020 hindsight vision. It's really decent to take a look at these fights and notice what went wrong. But in-game, it's always beneficial to go back, think about things, and go, all right, what is our winning condition? Does our Anti-Mage have his Battle Fury? He does. Does he have a fighting item yet? No, not quite. We need to buy him more space. Our Enigma's going for Guardian Greaves. All right, let's go with that and fight hard with that. Our Storm does not have his Orchid yet. No pickoffs available. If we don't have a Storm with Orchid, don't go in for big fights on Omni and Tidehunter. That's something you have to realize. Playing the Radiant side is you're playing for the space game. You will have Windrunner, Anti-Mage, and Storm late game, which beats just TA.
And this is where the Radiant team is actually making a great decision. Another thing that you just mentioned earlier is just the fact that if their heroes are down and you have enough creeps being pushed in a tower, do as much damage as you can.
This is perfect. Look at this. Even 2 right clicks from Enigma. Between the armor, it is reduction, but that's still about like 40-50 damage. That combined over 4 or 5 people, clicking a couple more times, that's a tower dead. That's something that the Radiant team is doing well after a fight. Even though, you get 1 pick off here, that's just a little timing, positioning, efficiency type plays. But overall, not hitting towers is actually why Dire has a huge lead, a kill count lead specifically, but they're not winning the game because you saw in that mid push there, this tower started with 3/4 health and it got to half health after a 3-man pickoff.
And we see the Storm actually finally getting his Orchid at this point at 27 minutes in.
Okay, so, regardless of... Ooh, nice Ravage. They're going in for a team fight. So it looks like Dire is about to win this fight. Great arrow landed. Storm's out of mana. But look at this. The creeps are back, so... you're going to run into these situations. Well, I couldn't push the tower, you say. What do? Take farm. Great. Take the jungle, but I don't think sitting here with Mirana looking for arrows is the correct move. Here would have been a great Roshan timing. They don't have their Dazzle. They don't have Weave. We still have Guardian Angel to hold on to. Our team fight should be stronger than theirs. Guardian Angel matches Black Hole. So, as long as the Omni Knight plays safe, and you get the Guardian Angel off during the Black Hole, that's something that you want to look at. But now, it looks like they get a decent wipe, they force the Storm back, but they did nothing with that space. That's the Dire's bane right here. They're not quite using the space they create for themselves effectively.
Yeah, let's take a look and see what else is going on here. Let's take a look at the farm charts real fast and see what the experience is currently sitting at. So we got it's still fairly even. I think the thing that's keeping the Dire side actually in the game is just all those team fights that they've been taking so much.
Dire, you can slowly feel them slipping. Here's a couple things that I want to mention. The CS chart. Look at the CS numbers. Everyone on Radiant, the top 3 on Radiant are at least double all the top 3 on Dire. And that's something that, you can be taking your kills, you can be taking your win, but don't stop farming. Look at this. Enigma, throwing Eidolons just at creeps like this nets you a couple creeps. They're going to find pickoffs. Sure, maybe if they had a stun there, they would have killed someone. But look at this. No farm. Anti-Mage is getting his farm. Anti-Mage at some point, like I say back then, is a ticking time bomb. At some point, he's going to bust out with Manta, Abyssal plus BKB or something of that sort, and he'll overwhelm you. Like TA, this Blink and Deso is solely off the back of kills. There's like 60 CS is really nothing at 30 minutes into the game.
I think the other thing too that I'm not being too big of a fan of is the Mango and the healing cell. It's 30 minutes in. Is there even a point to have those items on her when she could be getting something else like a stat item? Oh, and another
solo Black Hole catches the Tidehunter from the low ground. But TA on the back got a couple good right clicks off on that. Arrow misses. This seems like a rather even fight, 3 for 2. But you're going to have this TA going in on a shallow grave Windrunner. But Windrunner with her ult does a lot of damage. And here you start seeing, you're going to have outplays and overall decision plays. And this is something I want to review as we go over the end of the game. But that was an outplay on the Radiant side. Being able to outplay the enemy team is something that is incredibly useful for helping you win, because you can turn a losing situation overall on the graphs into a winning situation. And that was something that Radiant did there. But using that is a gameplay decision that will actually help you truly win the game here. See, this is correct. Even getting those couple right clicks off, it's decent. It's a 2v1. Look at this. The Dazzle should come back, get right clicks off. This is a mid tower that they can take. And Storm is doing the correct decision here. Props to Zanaso, doing great things, getting that tower from half health to quarter health based on a team fight one, just from right clicks.
Nice. So let's take a look and see what's happening up top.
Okay.
Alright, so we're actually seeing the Mirana actually coming through and trying to shoot an arrow against the Enigma. I don't think the Mirana realizes the entire team's there. Trying to set up another team fight, perhaps? Oh, another nice shackle kill for the Wind Ranger. Brings down the Mirana. They're not going to have a Mirana ult. And we'll see the Anti-Mage actually still farming here, taking out the jungle. I mean, I think that's a great choice. I mean, his team's doing perfectly fine without him. He doesn't need to be in a team fight yet, and he's really taking advantage of the space he's getting and farming as quickly as possible.
So here's something as the Anti-Mage player, maybe you'll find yourself in this position, but you kind of glance up top, you see this stuff happening. Your reaction should be to shove this lane. Like, screw the creeps. Like, screw these creeps. Just go back, cut the creep line here, and show yourself on the map. That creates immense pressure on the enemy team. It makes them really want to move back. And, you know, at this point, if the enemy mage was slightly more efficient, he would be hitting this tower. This tower would be gone.
I think he actually could have safely taken his tower by himself.
He definitely could have. That would have been a last hit here. That's fine. But, like, overall, the enemy mage had played that perfectly. You see the enemy team. There's no reason to TP top right now without your full team turning around ready to engage. You want to secure farm. This is perfect right here. Just getting some efficiency down. Throwing down farm, but what you want to look at is you see this mid. You see the Tidehunter mid. I think this gives a vision of the Omni Knight on top lane. Instead of farming the jungle here, you could hide in the trees here and potentially pick off the Mirana. You could potentially put a bunch of pressure on her. That will force immediate pressure back from the Tidehunter, and that gives your team space. You give the Anti-Mage space, he has to at some point, being the carry, return the space.
And right now, Radiant team's actually got all their ults up as well. So we got another black hole actually out for the Enigma. So if they get into another team fight here, it's going to really go in their favor, especially since the Tidehunter doesn't have his Ravage up anymore. And we're seeing the Omni actually being caught off guard right here. He does pop a repel on himself though, and blinks out.
Okay.
Let's focus back on the Storm player real fast, and let's see what else Zanaso is building. So it looks like he's actually building a Maelstrom.
And this is something I want to slightly disagree with. Just because Storm makes use of Maelstrom, I mean, it's attack speed, it's some damage on some procs, but Storm doesn't play like that. Storm plays with mana. You see that Ball Lightning, his ult, takes percentage mana. You see Static Remnant taking about 100 mana off each pop. And what really gives him damage is the ability to always have Overload up. You know, being able to overload, get extra right clicks off, that's more damage than what Maelstrom, I think, offers you. Also, offering things like Bloodstone for the huge mana regen, or getting a Sheep for the hard CC, that's something that I think is more valuable. But overall, they're winning. I think he's playing correctly. It's just his item choices may not be the best.
So I think with, is it 2,400 gold for a Maelstrom? About
2,700.
So 2,700, I mean, he could already be halfway to maybe, say, like a Sheep Stick, like you mentioned, or maybe an Octarine Core. I think in this situation, it'd be much better to go for a Sheep Stick because that'll add more right-click damage and a nice disable for the Templar Assassin. And we're seeing that, actually, that Omni Knight heal coming through and actually taking out the Omni Knight there, and a huge black hole coming out from the Enigma.
But you see that they lost their Storm and Anti-Mage. You don't have the damage to follow it up, but it turns the tide slightly, and now the team fight isn't as bad anymore. You have a more survivable Enigma with a mech. You have a slightly more survivable, mostly that was from the Shallow Grave on the Dazzle. But what you want to look at is, how did the Radiant take this fight? You know, this is something that happens all the time. Great black hole, slightly whiffed Ravage, decent Guardian Angel. These are factors that will happen in your game. But what happens after this is how you improve and go to the game win. Windrunner looks like she's searching for a kill. If you land a Shackle here and land the ult, I believe that could be a kill. But if that's not the kill, here's a decent decision to go. Push out waves, get the farm. Getting farm is almost the most important factor that determines lower MMR to high skill. Having the better items is solely the reason why Radiant have pulled themselves back into this game. They were behind in kills early game, but this farm is what keeps them in the game.
So I think right here we could speed up the game just a little bit. And let's take a look and see what the Dire team's doing. So they're at this point, I mean, they're no longer splitting up. They're all roaming 5 together. Actually, Happy, let's talk about that alt click on a timer earlier, because that was something that's really important. Not a lot of players do. Guys, alt click is a huge tool that works great in Dota. You can alt click almost everything on your screen. So alt click to clock. We're gonna show you what happens when you alt click to clock.
I don't think it works as much in. It doesn't work in observer mode.
But normally, what happens if you alt click the clock? It will actually pop the timer up and display to your whole team, so you can actually know exactly what time it happened. If you alt click on your money on the bottom right hand corner, it actually tells you what your buyback status is. If you alt click on your skills, it tells you that your spells are ready. If you alt click on your health bar, it tells you your current mana and health status. So, a real important thing. Just make sure you have the ability to almost alt-click everything. And we've seen the Enigma actually get caught off guard there. That's an interesting movement from the Storm. Why do you think he decided to do that?
Get Roche Pit vision. I think earlier before the Enigma got picked off, they didn't quite know where the enemy team was, so he wanted to scout the Roche.
Let's see. And actually, that was a smart idea to use the Static Remnant on the cliff, because it actually gives him some, is it flying vision?
It gives them flying vision, but it doesn't quite give them it uses quite a bit of the mana, and so now you see him without mana, not able to go for these nice zips, and he has to play defensive here. He had no mana.
He can't even jump in because Guardian Angel's up, so he doesn't have any right-click power to bring down anybody. So as a result, he has backup from the fight.
I mean, here the Windrunner keeps going in. It's not too bad of a play. You'll have Anti-Mage with his infinite chase, but during all of this, I want you to notice that the TA took top tower. And here, the TA wants to come back to fight. That's a decision you can make. It's totally valid. But if she can blink in, get a nice crit off, you could definitely go for like big plays here. However, I think the TA could have done something better and kept pushing top until.
Let's watch the Storm right here real fast too, because this is. I'm kind of tempted to want to rewind a little bit and rewatch that section of where he just had no mana for the fight, and he gets picked off right there. So. Earlier in the fight, he was using a Static Remnant to actually go and check out the Roche Pit, and he was zipping around a lot and burned up a lot of his mana. So, mana management is a big deal here with the Storm. Like Happy mentioned earlier, is that with Storm, a lot of his damage to huge black hole. Sorry guys, this is a great black hole.
Nice.
He was able to catch 4 people. Tidehunter's by himself with Ravage, has no damage to follow up, and
Did the Tidehunter have the refresher that whole time? You see Tidehunter come in. He has refresher. Could just refresher ult that. Just Tidehunter's bad reaction times. That's something that doesn't quite.
So he actually could have saved that team fight.
He totally could have. He could have canceled that whole black hole. Indecisions, mistakes, finger slip, panic buttons. It's gonna happen in game.
That was a big one. So, like we were mentioning earlier, the mana management of the Storm. It's really Storm's major damage is coming out from his overload, and you want to make sure you have good mana management there. That's why it's so important to get good mana regen, so that way he's able to keep on pulping his ult over and over and over again, just to make sure his overload's always ready.
And I think over there, maybe if he had a Bloodstone, he would have had the mana regen to keep it up. Another thing with Maelstrom is it doesn't offer Storm any sort of tankiness. Even Sheepstick gives you like 10 health, 10 strength, right? And without that type of tankiness, that's something that, as a Storm player, you're very limited in your aggression you can do.
Yeah, that's a good point that you brought up as well. I mean, it is 40 minutes in, and Storm's health is at 900, I think? Was that what I just saw?
Yeah, 950.
So he's a very squishy target right now.
Here, Radiant took a team fight, took Roche, took bot Rax. I think here, Radiant stands firmly in the lead. They have the higher CS. They've been starting to win these late game fights. Their players have damage items now, and they're taking very good objectives, and that's helped pushing them towards the win.
I mean, I think at this point, I think that huge fight by the Roche Pit where the Enigma was able to black hole 4 people was
That black hole is right here on the ground.
was what really helped. I think that
Beautiful.
secured it. I think that secured it.
I mean, yeah, I'm pretty sure the game is secured by now, but, you know, looking back on it, you want to look at the big decisions you made. You want to play to the Enigma's initial blink timing. You want to find space for your anti-mage. You want to go for pickoffs on your Storm. You know, here, it's just grinding out the game. Minutia, you're going to get pickoffs. They're going to get pickoffs. You know, these are slight plays that you can refine. But overall, how to win a big game is to go for these big decisional plays. The big decisional plays aren't the I landed a great shackle or I landed something. Like I wanted to say, I want to talk about this at the end of the video with outplays and decisional plays. They're two very different things, but a lot of people put more emphasis on the outplay to win the game, whereas the decisional plays are often what win the actual game.
Yeah, we're seeing the Unknight being caught out by himself here. He's going to be focused down by the Wind Ranger. Super quick. Tidehunter's going to have to try to blank out. He doesn't even have his ult. I mean, looked like he actually tried to TP out right there, and then he ended up right-clicking out of it.
Yeah, but you have an anti-mage and a Storm chasing. Like, this is just going to happen. There's no way he's going to get out, you know, for sure, right? But here we're just watching the Radiant team close out. This is something that you will see on the graphs later, like, just taking a look at the graphs right now. Huge spike for the Radiant team. It's just a closeout matter now. They won by some very good decisional plays. After teamfights, they took objectives, whereas the Radiant team, or the Dire team, won teamfights earlier, didn't take objectives. And I think that's actually the entire difference of why this game is won from the Dire. Sure, there were some great black holes, but on the other side, there were some great ravages. That's going to balance each other out. But these decisional plays are actually why Radiant won this game and came back.
True. Yeah, that was a huge thing that we noticed. That I mean, really up until about that black hole, they were fairly even on the teamfights. In fact, I would say the teamfights were going more in advantage of Dire's side, but they just really did not capitalize on the objectives. And at the end of the day, I mean, the throne is what gets you the game to win.
Exactly. Not taking objectives, huge problem. I mean, it's just, it's not doing good things for the Dire team. Not taking out big towers mid, not securing off or limiting anti-mage's farm area. I mean, here, you see this. This happens at the end of every game. Oh, let's go dive their fountain. Let's go for big things. But decisionally, they made the best plays between the 30 and the 40-minute mark when they won team fights. That's actually the only 10 minutes that mattered. If you really think about it, they just held on, didn't give up, you know. They're losing to Dire in team fights. They took even somewhat losing team fights all the time. But because they won 1 or 2 big team fights with that huge Enigma black hole, they won a couple more from just Windrunner getting a pick off here and there. They pushed towers. That's what wins the game.
You know, the other thing I want to mention too is that talking about the Storm, he's barely got his Bloodstorm in about 42 minutes in. So we'll talk about that at the end of the video here, but if he had the Bloodstone a little bit sooner, there was quite a few team fights where he survived, where he would have been able to add more to his Bloodstone charges, and really would have made his mana regen a beast to deal with.
Well, yeah, I mean, just to close out here, let's speed this up until the throne dies. And here's just typical fountain diving, buying items. Buy your Dagon 5s, go for the big swipes, had the scores. It's gonna happen. But by the end of this, you get a great double ravage. But overall, you're just too far. You have the winning place here. And looks like that's gonna be the game.
Alright guys, so what we're going to do right now is we're actually going to go and look through Dotabuff to talk about the item builds and the timings here. Alright guys, so as we mentioned here, we're going to go through and do a Dotabuff review analysis on the item builds here. So this is actually a really cool view you can get if you get an account with Dotabuff. It gives you all your timings of all your different items that you're building, your detailed creep score per minute, and a lot of other things too. It's awesome if you really want to improve your game. And Happy's actually going to go over some other factors of this game before we jump into item analysis. So go ahead and start.
All right, so one thing I really wanted to go over while we were playing the game or watching the game is this idea of gameplay versus outplay. Gameplay is something that a lot of people don't focus on, whereas everyone always focuses on the outplay. The outplay factor is the ability to land big black holes, big ravages, or go for huge like ultra kills, rampages at the end of the game. And The outplay looks the best, but not always is the reason why you win the game. The gameplay decision is often a subtle factor that you want to pay attention to, which can actually affect the game immensely. The gameplay takeaway message in this game in particular is that the Dire team refused to take objectives after winning a team fight. They were ahead most of the mid game and just never hit towers after taking out 3 people. Whereas the Radiant team took 2 people, took a Roche, took a mid tower, took a top tower, and then eventually went for Rex. These type of gameplay decisions were the actual reason why they won. You know, a big black hole is nice, but that will help win a game. But you have to realize that is something that will happen during a game. If you pick Enigma and you have 0 big black holes, well, that's just going to happen here and there. But, you know, focus on the gameplay, not the outplay. Let's go to the items.
So the big thing that we really want to mention here is obviously focusing on Storm, because Storm did submit this great video for us to review, and we're going to actually go through and talk about the big item here that we're really debating about, and we're going to have Happy go ahead and start us off.
Alright, so we're looking at the Maelstrom in particular. You can see that he gets an Orchid slightly late, pretty late, depending on your perspective, and then he goes Maelstrom into Bloodstone. This type of decision is a gameplay decision, and it potentially affected the way he could play and could actually win the game. Storm is a hero that is based entirely around using his mana pool to gain damage, using his E, Overload. Overload gives area slow as well as a bonus damage on your right click, and that's something that you proc by using an ability. And in all of this stuff that I've just said, Maelstrom plays almost no factor in it, except for getting off the right click and getting a proc off Maelstrom.
One of the things that I want to mention too was that we noticed about like 39 minutes in, while we're pushing up to tier 3 mid lane, the Storm only had 948 health. And at that late in the game, you're extremely squishy. It takes 1 Tidehunter Ravage and 1 Meld Strike to hit you, and you're dead. You contribute nothing to a team fight, which is just absolutely devastating in team battles when you really need to be there in the center of everything, just focusing down everybody as much as possible. And had he been able to get the Bloodstorm just a little bit sooner, he actually would have been able to build up a lot of charges, because there was some great Enigma black holes, and that would have just made him snowball out of control with the mana regen.
Exactly like you said. The Maelstrom doesn't quite contribute to his kit as well as a Bloodstone would. Bloodstone would allow you to be more aggressive because you would have a higher health pool and also more mana to work with in order to, you know, spam out your remnants, get a little bit of extra damage off from using Ball Lightning and getting overload charges. Also, great mana regen item. Like you said, get some stacks, snowball into the game. If you switch the order on those two, I bet the game would have ended slightly faster.
So the next person we want to talk about is actually a Tidehunter on the Dire side. Now we noticed that he actually went for his Blink, which isn't a bad item choice, but then he went and grabbed his Refresher Orb before getting Arcane Boots. And with his entire team, they were very mana reliant. I mean, we have a Tusk who's going to be relying on a Snowball a lot, the Tidehunter with his Ravage, and a very small mana pool along with the Omni Knight. The Omni Knight doesn't make the correct choice of getting early Arcane Boots, and I think the Tidehunter could have contributed a lot more by getting that earlier Arcane Boots as well.
Exactly, and there were actually, I think, 2 fights in that game where we casted is he used Refresher and didn't have mana to Ravage again. And that's one of the major problems with Tidehunter is Refresher costs a lot of mana, so does your ult. And so if you ult and Refresher, if you're not sitting at 100% mana, you're not going to be able to get off that second Ravage. And that's what the second mana boots allows you to do. The Refresher actually refreshes the cooldown of the mana boots, so you can use it in the middle of before refreshing and after refreshing to get 2 procs to get enough mana to double Ravage. And that's something that you just spent 5,000 gold on a Refresher Orb, and it does nothing if you can't use it effectively. And I think that was another gameplay decision that helped, well, not helped, but made Dire lose a lot of their effectiveness, is they put a lot of, like, Tidehunter gets a lot of his net worth, puts it into a Refresher, and then can't use it. Effectively, that's a minus 5,000 gold if you can't really use the Refresher properly.
Alright guys, so thanks again for watching. This was our second replay analysis, and what we're going to be trying to do by the end of the year is hopefully put out a replay analysis once per week, and we're actually going to shift away. We're doing MMR Theory. We're going to try to do more bite-sized pieces for our in-depth guides versus replay analysis, so that way we can actually make the videos a little bit more easier to view if you're learning smaller tips. These replay analyses though are great. Keep them coming. If you have a replay that you want us to go through, feel free to submit it. Really try to find a game that you feel like maybe you could have won, but you didn't, or maybe there's some few things that you felt like could have improved. If you are submitting videos, it's just, for us, it's easier for us to find out what you can learn on if it's a game that you struggled with versus a game where you just completely stomped. But other than that, this is a great replay that was submitted from Zanaso. Anything you wanted to add, Happy?
I would like to give a shout out to Zanaso for submitting this replay. It's a great game to analyze. You know, it really focuses on a couple different factors about winning and losing. And so, you know, keep them coming. Like Zero2Infinity said, we love doing these replays. We want to help the newer players improve, and we want to help older players get even better. So keep it coming.
All right, guys. This is Zero2Infinity from Crowd Control with Happy, and we'll catch you guys later. And remember to subscribe.